I'm not gonna lie, pruning blackberries is just a little bit confusing, just enough to make you want to ignore the whole blackberry trellis. To clear things up, I'm gonna go through the different types of blackberries: thornless or thorned, trailing, erect or semi-erect, and floricane or primocane bearing, and then take you through how to prune blackberries in spring, summer, fall, and winter. Hi guys, I'm April from Resprout. Like and subscribe for more garden tips and tutorials from my suburban front yard garden where I help you garden like a boss. A lot of people ask whether or not they should trim their blackberry bushes, and the answer is yes. Absolutely, definitely prune your blackberry bushes. Trimming blackberries allows for reduced spread of disease, increased airflow, fewer pests, a higher yield, and more attractive plants. First things first, we'll need to ID our blackberry bush type before we figure out the best blackberry pruning method and when to prune them. Do you have thornless blackberries or regular blackberries with thorns? Good news is, as far as pruning goes, the cuts are the same. The amount of blood may not be though, so if you have a thorn variety, grab a good set of gloves, get some long sleeves, and meet me back here. The next question is, do you have a trailing, erect, or semi-erect type? You can tell the difference by looking at the main stems. Trailing blackberries are low growing, they spread, and they fan out on the ground. If you have wild blackberries, they're probably trailing. If you or someone else bought them and they're fairly upright like mine, you're probably looking at erect or semi-erect blackberries. Probably the most important question about your bushes is whether they're floricane or primocane bearing. Blackberries can bear fruit at 2 times, either on their second year canes, called floricanes only, which is standard, or on both their first and second year canes. First year canes are called primocanes, and if these bear fruit, the variety is sometimes called everbearing, but most blackberries tend to be the floricane type. I only have everbearing varieties, so if you have a variety that's floricane bearing, let us all know down in the comments what you think of it. Blackberry primocanes are bright green and more pliable. The 2-year-old floricane is darker, redder brown, and is much stiffer. All floricanes flower, bear fruit, and then they die. Typical primocanes do not flower or bear fruit, but those of the everbearing variety will do so while staying green at the bottom. All canes, everbearing or not, die after 2 years. Don't worry though, the crowns, the base of the plant, can live 15 to 40 years. It's just the canes that come and go. If you only get berries once per year in the summer, you likely have a standard blackberry that fruits on its second year canes. I have 2 everbearing varieties, Primark Freedom and Primark Traveler, both from Stark Brothers, who I am so proud to have as a sponsor on this video. Long before Resprout, I was just a regular gardener alone in my front yard, and Stark Brothers is where I ordered all of my strawberries, my raspberries, my blueberries, my sweet potatoes, my regular potatoes, and of course, these 2 luscious, very productive rows of blackberries. Incredibly, they have been in business since 1816. Even so, their website is super modern, super easy to navigate. You can sort the plants by pollination, by thornless or thorn, by primocane or floricane bearing, or even taste. My 2 everbearing varieties I got precisely because I wanted a longer season of blackberries. Both fruit in June on their floricanes and July on their primocanes, with both canes fruiting until first frost, which is November for me in Zone 7. I usually eat them fresh in the yard while I'm picking. Very few make it into the house, much to the dismay of my husband. I think he thinks that the blackberries don't produce at all. I'm just gonna let him continue believing that. Blackberries can be pruned year-round with different cuts for different seasons. To avoid confusion, we'll start with the basics. In every season, whenever you notice it, always prune out any dead, diseased, or broken canes. It's best to think of blackberry pruning as ongoing regular maintenance, just like mowing the lawn. To get started, you'll need a pair of pruners for the smaller canes and lateral branches, and a lopper for the thicker canes. Stay tuned for winter pruning directions, but if you skipped winter pruning, you can do a lot of dormant trimming in the early spring. If your winter pruning has been done, there's not much to prune in spring unless you have a trailing variety. This is the time to cut the main cane of trailing blackberries at the top to a height of 3 to 4 feet. Now is also a great time to double check that everything's starting to leaf out. Even blackberries that were pruned down to the ground will eventually show signs of life. If you're not sure whether your berries made it, do a scratch test by scraping a few canes with your fingernail. You can also prune canes down until you find living wood, which will be green and wet. Temperatures below 0 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter can cause damage. If you have a man down, check with your nursery to see if they have a survival guarantee and they can replace it for free. Although I have many plants in my front yard garden from Stark Brothers, I've had the good luck to never need their amazing 1-year survival guarantee. It's a guarantee that has always given me incredible peace of mind as I place my plant orders every year. If you're looking to invest in plants for your garden, I definitely recommend going to a nursery that has a guarantee like this. Do not let your blackberries turn into this. As we move into summer, pruning will consist mainly of controlling the height of the bushes. Cutting the tops of the canes is called a heading cut, and you might need to do this a couple times in the summer to keep everyone in line. Heading cuts for almost all plants encourage growth further down on the stem, and in the case of blackberries, it encourages the production of fruit. Prune erect and semi-erect varieties 3 to 5 feet high. I prune mine towards the lower end of this range, but I think next year I'm gonna do it high enough so that the canes clear the top wire of my blackberry trellis for support. In the summer, you're also gonna wanna prune down the blackberry suckers that emerge around your bed in the ground with either some pruners or a lawnmower. The other important prune to make in the summer is to remove dead floricanes after harvest. As the season progresses, each cane will bear fruit and die. Removing these canes sooner rather than later clears the way for new primicanes emerging at this time of year and also cuts down on disease transference. Just make sure not to remove a primicane. Still, if you have an ever-bearing variety like me, you'll want to tip the dead primicane ends. Ever-bearing primicanes look like floricanes on their ends, dead and covered with berry debris at the end of the season. So you can see here, everything past this point is dead. Their bottoms are still primicanes though, green and growing. Fall is not a common time to prune blackberry bushes, but yes, you can prune blackberries in the fall, specifically ever-bearing varieties. Because ever-bearing varieties bear fruit the first year on their primicanes, some growers cut down the blackberries every year all the way to the ground in the fall when they're done producing. Because of this, floricanes, second-year canes, are never produced. This is called fall-managed blackberries, or managing for a fall crop. This method is also called mowing down the plants, but do not be fooled by the word mowing. If you try to use your lawnmower on these things, the lawnmower is not going to win. The lopper is the tool you want here. You might want to consider cutting down ever-bearing blackberry bushes every year if you don't need to harvest in a year, or if you already have other blackberries that produce in the early summer, or if you don't want to have to worry about the upkeep of the plant, or you live in a cooler region where the primicane harvest is usually bigger anyways, or if you prefer the clutter-free look during the winter. This year, I pruned one of my trellises in this method to test it out. I was intrigued with the idea of not having unsightly naked canes in my front yard over the winter. More importantly though, cut back to the ground, the canes would not be leafing out and shading my tomato trellises in early spring when the tomato seedlings were just finding their way up the trellises. The tomatoes and fresh primicanes would be more on equal footing. I am not gonna lie, I was a little hesitant to cut these suckers down to the ground, but a spring inspection showed that they were doing just fine and they were sending up little shoots. If you've ever taken the plunge with a mowing down method, let us all know down in the comments how it worked for you. Winter is the most common time to prune blackberries. In fact, before wising up, I used to do all my pruning during the winter. Smarter April does not recommend this. Besides being an incredibly long and stressful day, it's actually not good for the blackberries to be overgrown and filled with dead, broken, and diseased canes all year. So let's say you've been on top of your maintenance all year. Spent floricanes are already gone and all the remaining canes are green, undamaged, and disease and pest free. You also managed to keep the bushes to a proper height all season. You are a champion. There is still some more prunes to make though. The first step is to remove all but 4 to 6 of the strongest primocanes on each plant, or 3 to 4 canes per foot. Keep in mind, you should have 0 floricanes since you removed those as you harvested earlier in the year. You'd think that reducing the canes would reduce fruit yield or quality, but there are a couple reasons for thinning blackberries. Thinning focuses the energy of the plant on just those canes. It increases airflow, it increases sunlight, it reduces the chances of rubbing branches and the resulting damage. It reduces the risk of disease, and it allows for new primocanes to emerge. The next step is to remove the lower lateral branches. The laterals are the horizontal branches that grow off the main canes. We want to remove any lower than 18 inches off the ground. Like tomatoes and many other plants, any fruit that grows on these lower branches will likely be more affected by animals, insects, shade, and disease. Instead, we want the blackberry to focus its energy on higher branches where the fruit will be better quality. The remaining laterals we want to prune back using a heading cut to 12 to 18 inches long, making sure each has 5 to 6 buds. So that's about 12 inches. My elbow is about 18 inches. With all those prunes done, your blackberry winter pruning is done for the year. If you're wondering whether or not you can take care of blackberries, yes, you can definitely do this. Follow along for each season, and pruning blackberries is going to be a cinch, part of your regular garden maintenance. I hope this video helped you out. Remember to sign up for my email newsletter for more garden resources, and keep gardening like a boss, and I'll see you guys soon.